What have been the challenges for you, Joy, just convincing parents that this is one way to look at their child's education?
Well, we grew up in very traditional setup, and it's nice to see that when a parent comes in and we explain that this is how we do things, that they themselves realize a lot of things about themselves that they did pick up from their own school experience. And in our school, it's really the children themselves who will actually convince you that it works, because you have children who are not only critical thinkers, but very, very good problem solvers. And as I've always believed that, school is not just preparing kids for life. For kids, it's really their lives. And if you see them going home and talking about things that they do in school and trying to figure out, like my daughter, they're doing countries and cultures now, but when she goes home, she's saying, I want to learn a Japanese dance, or I want to show my classmates, and I have no clue how to teach her to do that. But and she goes and researches. I mean, it's beyond the classroom walls already, and I think that's what learning is really about.
Until what grade are you offering at the moment?
We're going 5th, but we're going to move up to 6th, so that then we have a graduation.
Primary. But I was going to ask about the jump from grade school, and then they go to a high school, which is the traditional academe-based, which is very strict on math and passing tests in English, and they won't have the avenues that they had when they were learning from an MI school. So how does that shift now take place?
Well, actually, Joy will probably find pressures from parents to trickle up, so to speak. And I was going to mention that in the United States, these ideas first caught on for preschool and elementary grades. But then it went on in high school, and now many colleges, especially community colleges, and lots of adult education are also based upon these ideas, because nowadays everybody has to continue learning, and especially if you were trained in an earlier time on material that's out of date, you have to become a student again. And in businesses, they can't afford to have too many failures, because it means they have to rehire people. So instead, they are much more interested in what's the best way to reach their employees. But you're right. If you're in a school which has explored many, many ways of learning things, and then you get into a school that's very traditional, it can be extremely frustrating. And then you might have a people's revolution in the school with the students saying,
"What am I in our high school?"
But what I've found, though, is that a lot of the fears of parents is that if children enjoy school and go to a progressive environment, it means, or have fun in school, it means that they're learning less. I find, on the contrary, these children have richer understanding. They go beyond just memorizing facts and have really taken knowledge as their own. Which, if they go to a high school, in a traditional high school, and would just require them to do, memorize, take a quiz, you'll find these kids actually enriching those schools with their questions and with their search for answers. So I think in terms of academic performance, they exceed expectations. And second, I think, is the discipline of looking at the world, and the discipline of looking inside themselves, also, and understanding themselves. They have much, much more understanding of themselves, which I think is a very good tool for them when they moved into a high school, whether or not it's traditional.
And this isn't for children, as you've mentioned just a while ago. It's for adults as well, for those who find themselves in a rut, suddenly realizing, I didn't know I had, this must be my form of intelligence. If he or she was always, say, an accountant and has always been doing numbers, but then realizing that the passion lies in theater or drama, that there is an avenue for them to pursue that, and that there is and it is accepted now that there is that type of intelligence that they can work on.
But it's not magic. I might feel I could be a great concert pianist, but 10 years of practice would help. In fact, as you get older, it's more important to know your own intelligence profile and to use that in a way that's going to help you achieve what you want to achieve. So if, for example, you are very interpersonally oriented, you ought to be learning with a group, you ought to be involved in debate and dialogue and so on. If on the other hand you're somebody who really rather ruminates by yourself or more intrapersonally, then you want to have something where maybe you can occasionally go to the internet or occasionally contact someone else, but you spend a lot of time in libraries, and you'd say, what kind of books do I learn from? Are there ones which are very rich in graphics, or maybe a book isn't a good enough way for me to learn, I ought to learn in a more interactive kind of way. So as you get older, I guess what I'm saying, Leah, is you really need to know your own profile of intelligences. And that's not that complicated. Anybody who wants to know the profile of intelligences, just get my list of 7 or 8, order the ones which you think you are the best in, ask 2 other people whom you know, and if they agree, that's probably what your profile of intelligence is. You don't have to go out and spend a lot of money to go to a so-called licensed MI person.
And there isn't even a licensed one.
That's right.
We'll have to go all the way to the United States to find you. No, but let's talk about something simple. Keeping MI in mind, what's a simple first step for parents to find out what it is that their child, what may be a good way for them to get through to their child when they're trying to teach something?
In America, I always say, go to a children's museum. I understand you have one in Manila, but there probably aren't very many in the Philippines. But the nice thing about a children's museum is that nobody flunks museum. It's a very, very rich set of materials where you can explore water, you can play games and so on. And if you just watch a child for a few hours in a children's museum, you'll learn a great thing about them. But you can go out in the country, go to a farm, you can take a vacation to a new kind of place. And if you simply avoid what I call positive or negative narcissism. Positive narcissism says, the one thing I wanted to do in life was to play the violin, and you have to play the violin. Or negative narcissism is the one thing I don't want you to do to play the violin. Those are bad. You have to set back more like an anthropologist and just watch the child, not just what the child likes, but what the child returns to and gets better at. And that's the sign of how that child learns the best. It doesn't mean when a child is young that that's the only way to teach, because children are pretty flexible. But what it means is don't knock your head against the wall. Repeating the same thing over and over again when that doesn't work the first time is not only a recipe for failure, it's a recipe for alienation. But saying, all right, didn't work, let's try another way. Let's have somebody else show you. Let's go do this together. You teach it to me. Have your brother teach it to you. Let's go and try to build this out of Lego. The more you can vary the things, the more likely you'll find out what your child's particular profile or métier is. So it's watching watching more and thinking less about yourself is really the secret. And again, most people only have a few children, and so you don't have as much comparison as a teacher or somebody who had 10 or 12 children, or somebody who runs a theater or who runs a museum or something. So you might have somebody else watch the child and say, what strikes you about the child? What's unusual about the way he or she approaches things? So again, it's a question of having respect for your own observational abilities, but also asking other people to watch as well.
I see it as a very dynamic involved, and don't close your eyes to what the possibilities are. It's just being open to all of that. And Joy, I wish we had more time, but just to wrap up, tell us about the convention that's happening. Of course, Dr. Gardner is here, and he will be there. Tell us about that. That's on Friday and Saturday, right?
The convention is actually the first Philippine Multiple Intelligence Convention. It's entitled Changing Minds. We hope to change some minds about how parents and teachers look at children. It's on February 11 and 12. That's a Friday and a Saturday. And it's going to be at the Manila Hotel.
And that's this Friday and Saturday at the Manila Hotel. And who do they call? Do they call the Manila Hotel?
No, they can call 433-4949. That's the convention secretariat.
Dr. Gardner was smiling. He probably didn't want me to give his number on air. I'm sure he's been getting a lot of calls, though, everywhere from around the world, just asking about multiple intelligence.
It's true, but I'm very happy that we now have the internet and people can send questions that way. There's also lots of answers available on the internet. And here in the Philippines, I'm very pleased to be able to turn over all those things to Joy. a terrific partner.
We are very pleased to have you here. Thanks for sharing your time with us, Dr. Howard Gardner and Joy Abaquin, and we wish you all the best Friday and Saturday. Hope to see more of you in the country. Thank you.